think psychology in terms of losing weight, or when you're on a mission to lose weight, is often overlooked. Most people tend to approach dieting with exercise and diet changes. And what they don't realize is that there's often psychological variables or issues that might interact with those two things. So if somebody has low self-esteem, for example, they might find it very hard to motivate themselves or to believe that they can actually achieve some of the goals that others are setting for them or that they may set for themselves. And with my clients, I often talk about Coach A, Coach B. Coach A being a coach who says all negative things to try and motivate you to do something. So you're horrible, you need to do this more, you can't do this, which is supposed to inspire you to do something, versus Coach B that sort of says you can do this, let's work on it, let's find a way forward. You respond very differently to those two kinds of coaching. We often have Coach A and Coach B in our heads, and if you're somebody who's always had negative thrown at you, which some people who are overweight or obese do, it's very hard to have a positive internal voice. So addressing some of that in a psychology sense can be very powerful. Addressing how you talk to yourself, addressing how you interpret what other people are looking at you, what they're thinking. So if you are overweight and you're walking on the street and you see somebody staring at you and you have a negative sort of view of yourself, you're going to automatically think that person is thinking negatively of you, which makes it easy to sort of give up on things. If you have a much more positive view, you might think that person is looking at me because maybe they've noticed that I'm really working on myself. And that can change, that motivates you to continue to work on yourself. So all of these things I think are often overlooked when people try to address weight loss issues. Oftentimes people form their sense of self when they're young, and that when they're teens or early 20s. And how you form your sense of self, or how you define yourself, is very important. Some people define themselves on education, how well they do at school, how well they do professionally, and that rolls into a career. Some people define themselves on how they look, how much attention they get, how good they are in romantic relationships. Some people define themselves on all sorts of things, how they play sports. If you define yourself on how you look, while that might be not a problem when you're younger, if looks or weight increases or looks deteriorate as you get older, that can be a huge insult to one's sense of self, which can leave one very vulnerable to depression, to all sorts of other problems or behaviors driven towards finding getting that sense of self back again. So I would say that if that's true for somebody, they're much more at risk. It's sort of an at-risk variable in terms of developing depression or things later on. My mom always used to tell me when I was little, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. And I think that adage is very true. If your friends are people who have a balanced life and who are likely to go out and do activities outside of the house, who are likely to want to be thinking about healthy eating, it's much easier to engage with those things. If you have friends who are much more likely to stay on, who want to eat things that aren't necessarily healthy, it's much easier to engage with that sort of behavior. I'm not saying you can't do something different from your friends, but what I'm saying is that it makes it easier. So for example, if you were trying to quit smoking, it wouldn't be a good idea to have lunch in a restaurant where everybody is smoking around you. It would be much harder to walk away and not smoke. And this is the similar thing. If people surrounding you are also trying to work at losing weight, it's much easier to engage with losing weight as well. The main advice I would give is that to keep in mind that weight loss is a very complicated thing. I think it's easy to look in the media and hear big success stories and to think that weight loss is easy. All you need to do is eat less and exercise more, and when really it's a very complicated process. All of our bodies work in different ways. We have psychological things that impact how we eat, our motivation and things, and that is important. So just remembering that weight loss is an individual thing, and remembering that when you're trying to lose weight is very important.